Come, please. Yeah. All here. We fill up this one first, then the rest. Yes. Just here. Can you announce one more time? Somewhere in prayer, praying.
Herkes sorumludur. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh, and very good evening to all of you. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the International Conference on Religion, Culture and Governance organized by Kuliah of Islamic Revealed Knowledge and Human Sciences, International Islamic University, Malaysia. My name is Dr. Nur Safir Ahmad Safran. I come from Department of Arabic Language and Literature. Ayuhas Sadatu was Sayyidat, Salamullahi alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, wa zuhran sa'idan. يسعدنا ويشرفنا أن نرحب بكم جميعاً في المؤتمر العالمي في الدين والثقافة والحوكمة تحت إشراف كلية معرفة الوحي والعلوم الإنسانية بالجامعة الإسلامية العالمية ماليزيا. فمرحباً أيها الضيوف الكرام ضيفاً وأهلاً وسهلاً بكم ألفاً ونقول لكم نزلتم أهلاً ووطأتم سهلاً. Before the next session begins, I would like to introduce our honorable keynote speaker. Emeritus Prof. Dr. Muhammad Haji Salleh is an adjunct professor at the Department of English Language and Literature and Emeritus Professor at University Science Malaysia. Prof. Muhammad is a poet, academic and translator. He has been writing poetry since his student days at the University of Malaya, Singapore. He is the recipient of several prestigious literary awards in the region, among them the ASEAN Literary Award for Poetry, the Sea Right Award and the Masra Literary Award. In 1991, he was appointed Malaysia's National Laureate. Prof. Muhammad will deliver a presentation titled A Place for Literature in a New World. وقبل أن نبدأ ببرنامجنا هذا يطيب لنا أن نعرفكم بضيفنا الكريم. بروف شرف محمد الحاج صالح هو الأستاذ الأميريتوس في جامعة العلوم الماليزية، وهو أيضا الأستاذ المساعد في قسم اللغة الإنجليزية وآدابها بكليتنا. وكان بروف محمد شاعرا وأكاديميا ومترجما، وقد بدأ بكتابة الأبيات الشعرية منذ صباه عندما كان في جامعة المالايا بسنغافورة، وهو حائز على العديد من الجوائز الأدبية المرموقة، ومنها الجائزة الأدبية آسيان للجنس الأدبي الشعري، والجائزة الأدبية المرموقة فنسميها بماسترا، بها اعترف من أفضل الشعراء لدول جنوب شرق آسيا. وفي 1991 عين بروف محمد أديب الشرف الماليزي، وقد اختار بروف محمد عنوان تقديمه مكانة الأدب في العالم الجديد. Without further ado, I would like to invite Prof. Muhammad Haji Salleh to deliver his keynote speech. وحتى لا أطيل عليكم فنتشرف بدعوة بروف محمد لتقديم ما لديه من الموضوعات، فليتفضل مشكورا مسبوقا بالترحيب والتصفيق.
Cik Pengerusi, tuan-tuan dan puan-puan, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My father always wanted me to be an ustaz. For many years he waited for me. I became a lecturer, I became a professor, but never an ustaz. It's only in the International University that I become an ustaz. Terima kasih. Thank you very much. We have, of course, great new changes in the humanities. And this is what I want to address today. My subtitle for this talk is The Civilizing Forces of the Humanities. I do not have slides for you because I thought an ucap utama keynote speech was speech as not slides. So therefore no slides for you. There is also a tradition in the East that there are many storytellers who enthrall their audiences by the voice, by the poetry, and by the story themselves. I hope to become one today, and therefore there are no slides. Okay. Surprise, yeah. Okay. As the school curriculum that prioritizes the sciences, technology, engineering, and mathematics otherwise known as STEM, is marauding the great ancient forests and felling the great trees of our culture, I have to yell out that under the bulldozers are our past intellectuals, artists, storytellers, and calligraphers, and in fact, our literary history. For at least 1,000 years, they have been at the heart of our culture. Now, STEM is stemming us out of the classroom, not only in Malaysia, but I think also in Indonesia and some other countries. I'm happy for this opportunity to shout out loud because for at least 2 decades, I've been feeling very disheartened by the slow and steady dismantling of our house of knowledge, the umbrella that we call the humanities, under which we labor and contribute our bit to education and the civilization. I would like to claim that language and literature draw the greatest map of the human heart, brain, deep delving with its arm on the greatest and faintest of emotions, and on ideas about how life and living should be conducted. Linguistics, or just learning languages, dig deep into the constituent elements of a people. Their languages go through the process of creation over many years and even millennia. Linguisticians are poets who read the emotions of the words. The poets are the revelers in their beauty and meaning. There's no doubt that we need languages to be a bigger part of the geographical world and a smaller realm of our hearts. World civilizations are indeed products of languages and loyally describe the text of their thoughts and ideas. We need languages to describe our emotions, to explore the terrain of our thoughts and ideas. We need languages to translate the human genius of our land, our water, our tanah air in Malay, and those beyond its waves. Literature, the greatest product of a language, and the verbal arts helps to define and deliver these ideas, which are the edifices of culture itself. In my line of work as a lecturer and vocation as a poet, I have to gather words to describe truths, ironies, lies, corruption, and untruths too. We are no prophets, for our sin is that sometimes we exaggerate, shift focuses to things we find important. We persuade readers to like our ways of thinking and approaches. On the idea of language, Noam Chomsky says, a language is not just words. It is a tradition, a unification of a community, a whole history that creates what a community is all embodied in a language. I myself often sit to read not only the novels, but also dictionaries. I'm not so right in the head, I know, but dictionaries are beautiful, beautiful objects. And I sometimes dream of words flowing with rivers of the centuries as I pick the best for my poem. Dictionaries are the keepers of the heritages, and language the very soul of a people. For 50 years, which is not much, I've tried to explore Malay and English to find tools to describe my external and internal worlds, my world of my kind and my unkind. I retrieve words buried in the fibers of the trees, the ribs of the rocks, and colors of the corals, or fly with the birds of imagination. I think that all types of writers are important, including academicians like you. Of course, writers are all involved in seeking truth. However, some do tell some unkind truths too. But writers often tell truth about human beings, their saddest tragedies or their happiest moments, their range of emotional experiences, their bravery, hypocrisies, lies, and their truths. I'm claiming that as languages are central to our survival and growth, so are the literary works of Malaysians who, according to Asma Haji Omar, now use a total of 100 languages in all in Malaysia at the moment. So languages give substance to describe peoples and their cultures. By the same argument, we need literature of the past and the future to read the soul of the people of our times and our own souls and those of our children in the future. The humanities help us to be ourselves, to be human, to see the present and future maps of civilizations. Languages, literatures, history, and philosophy help to create the multi-dimensional man and woman in real society, not the one-dimensional ones that are unfortunately walking our streets or making decisions on our behalf. By definition, these are the manusia kempis, the shrunken beings without content or emotions. The English language is a terrible language. There's so many syllabuses. In Malay, we have two only usually. Makan, minum, lari, jalan, and so on. When it comes to English, unfortunately, one-dimensional. So I'm having problems. I think they should change the English language, make it simpler for me, but might be a little too late. With the help of languages and literatures, let us be ourselves now and in the future. Let us read the texts of our past and also write the texts of our future. I am in literature, so I claim to know some things in this wide and wondrous field. But before that, I would like to boast that I know something about languages too. The social sciences study humans in their societies, in their interaction with one another, and in their environment. They examine what makes us good human beings and good human neighbors. On the other hand, literature describes and examines the ideal man and shows us how many have fallen from this mark of perfection. So please allow me to speak of the dismantling and the slow death of the humanities and the social sciences in Malaysia. The background. For more than a decade now, classes for Malay national literature have been closing their doors. In most of the states of Malaysia, from Perlis to Johor and from Sabah to Sarawak, there is a tragic thud of closure, an uneasy end resounding throughout the country. This scenario comes from an unstated policy that literature is useless, that it will cause students to study it become unemployable. Its knowledge is inexact and may not be interpreted through formulae and theorems. We must goad our students towards real knowledge that is the one present in STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And incidentally, part of the present philosophy of education is for students and schools to aim for 100% passes for their students, and for individual students to obtain 7 A's, 8 A's, 20 A's, if you can, 1,000 A's. And when they do, journalists will crowd these schools to report on their achievement in the newspapers and television channels. The students who get less are considered lesser human beings, and though not all the time. And language or literature students do get less A's. I do not think Shakespeare would get many A's if he were a student, because we in literature don't give A's so that students can show off that they are perfect, and nobody is perfect, not even the lecturer. He wouldn't get A either. It does not matter if the student is a bully or has brought in his notes into the examination hall. He's a hero of the school if he has perfect A's, and therefore one to emulate that is in his marks. At this point I ask, is there no other purpose to education in the schools and universities other than stringing A's? Is it well and good to obtain? It is well and good to obtain high marks. Many of us did. But what about obtaining knowledge that guide us in our lives and teach us to be moral citizens of a proud country? Literature and languages do not have formulae or a set of theorems, but they have one principle that I know of, that these subjects in the humanities must enter into the heart and the mind of the student, flow in their blood and emotions, and stay there, perhaps for the rest of his or her life. But also perhaps there's too much politics in the area of education, where politics should be replaced with ideas of how we should have create a morally good people with integrity and dignity. Though it is not stated in so many words, the essential philosophy of the country is economic. This is where all philosophies begin and end in many countries. We have departed from the ideals of education, and it might be too late to return to the haven of humanities that we have left far behind. Now let us spend some time to consider this quite desperate situation in the humanities, and also the desperate and anxious situation in our fields, literature and language. Armstrong, 2009, in his paper, put his finger on the function of the humanities and the values that they offer to human societies. He says, the vocation of the humanities, the underlying task, is to get those central areas of life to go as well as possible for as many people as possible. It is a vocation with deep implications for the economy, politics, and society as a whole. However, the humanities are not flourishing within the universities and in the societies. They have become marginal. What many do not understand is that humanities contribute as much as the sciences in the lives of the students. The benefits of the humanities have been forgotten for quite a few decades now, especially when the GDP came into the view mirror of the countries and states, schools and universities. Human life and its progress and the future have now been seen from almost exclusively economic perspective and measured against the economic graphs. These are, of course, supposedly measurable. So the many homes and the many cars are equally measured. But should human progress be determined by these measurements of concrete things alone? But while driving out in nice cars from portions of nicest houses and eating faster food, do we also equally experience the immeasurables like beauty of nature, humor, the pleasure of language and music? And they're as important, and they real parts of our lives, the cherished parts too. However, they are immeasurable with rods or tapes, but they record enjoyment and even happiness. These immeasurables seem to have no place in an era where the calculators work overtime. Let us study languages. Let's listen quietly to the sounds and meanings of words. If one concentrates on words, one wanders into the images and structure of ideas, the music of a people, the riches that overflow in that language itself. These are the very assets bequeathed us by our ancestors, for which we do not have to pay. Our only task is to care for it, to develop it. Otherwise, it is free for us to enjoy and to own. To the Russians, their language is the greatest invention. But is this not also true for all languages of the world? They record lives or are created to describe thoughts and perspectives, philosophies and possibilities. No other product of a people is greater than language, for it is gathered from a careful experience of life itself, of the sounds and meanings for thousands of years of creation and recreation. In the process, the less fine is slouched off and the good ones are retained and repeated. As I'm a student of language, practicing and also academic, I love dictionaries. In them I find the genius of our people. I know some Malay and some English, some French and some Dutch. As the years open before me, I'm still discovering the old and new words, the forgotten and the newly minted. How they describe our civilization. A language is the very brick of our with their genius. Look at this fine word in Malay called angin, the wind or the air. Here are words that have grown from a single root of concept. Angin, angin, from the word angin. Yeah? Angin, angin is a juice hub. Angin barat, westerly wind. Angin bida, a steady wind. Angin ekor duyung, a variable wind, the dolphin's tail wind. Angin gila, variable wind, crazy wind. Angin gunung-gunungan, a squall, a mountainous wind. Angin kelambu menunggal, north wind, winds like a mosquito net twisted. Angin kelambu sebelah, northeastern wind, winds like half of a mosquito net. We sleep with mosquitoes outside the house or outside our body. We do have a lot of mosquitoes here. And I think in UIA too, yeah? You have a lot, yeah? Not many. Yes, lucky for you. Angin Tenggara Mandi, south strong southeast wind which comes in sprays, winds bathing in the southwest. So from the single word wind, we created so many meanings and so many metaphors. That is the genius of language. Looking at his language and looking at the words, this poet, when he was younger, wrote this poem. Hold your language in the bowl of your palms, for in its words you can hear the sigh of your ancestors. In its swung syllable is the dance and melody that may undo this ancient anxiety. Read your language. Its sentences may be the quiet antidotes to arrogance. Between its sounds, you'll hear the clear voice of your blood, which narrates the legend of your race. Besides the material things that language describes, there are many non-material ones that they try to give words to. The many shades of emotions and experiences, the shadow of the conscious and the unconscious, the ineffable dreams and insubstantial illusion. These two are the very elements in our lives that languages must confront and give a presence in words. A good language tries to do its task as fully as possible. Let us now return to the claim that the humanities, more particularly literature, teaches human values. But this is indeed a great claim. What values, we ask? The answer would be, among them, being good, moral, courteous human being, living in a sustainable society and contributing to it, experiencing equality among citizens, a lack of prejudice, and a mutual respect among its members. Studies describe this as the basis of a civilized country and confirm the emotions in our lives. I have tried to look at physics. It does not tell me to love another person. I've looked at chemistry. It only sizzles at me. I look at mathematics. It adds up things, but it doesn't say what I feel. I need this other side, which is not described by the sciences, but which we together need also, and therefore the need for literature. For many centuries before this darkened one, man has lived with the philosophy at the heart of the human thought and guidance, and language was a bridge among peoples and cultures. Literature, in telling human tales, brought description and examples of ways of the courteous, the moral, and the good. We learn from the words, their meanings and emotions within them. We follow the plots of their experiences, the causes and effects of actions, and even intentions. We love stories because they are our very narratives, our biographies and autobiographies. Languages and literatures were undoubtedly the narratives of the people, the race, the bangsa. In them, our stories are told, our history is recorded. In them, if we are sensitive enough, caring enough, we may find ourselves. And without them, we would not have a history. And without them, we would not have a record of our emotions, thoughts, and ideas. Without them, we would forget our mistakes and repeat them. And without them, we would not have the opportunity to ponder on human action. I stand before you and with you in a country that has fallen in love to distractions with the sciences and seems to have forgotten almost everything else that is non-scientific. Geography has been dismantled. History is unpopular because it is about the past. The arts are all thought to be secondary, if not shunted aside as irrelevant. Students are warned that they will not be employed if they choose them, and in their place and status in society will plunge deep if they persist in studying these abstract subjects. And surely the greatest blow, you will never get rich studying them. Go become a doctor or engineer or economist. Law is fine, so is management and geology. For in this country, we have a lot of petrol in Terengganu, Sarawak, Sabah. And we are not rich in our hearts or in our soul. Are we in an era that is most unphilosophical and most unthoughtful, and we are the least philosophical and thoughtful among all the Asians? Or are we in an area, or we have gone overboard on political and administrative whims and fancies, and discarded or have encouraged our young to discard everything else? And many have followed the teachers' advices, cramping notes at night and in the early hours of the morning before their examinations. None of the ministers have been philosophers of education when confronted with the real and full nature of our next generation. This, indeed, to me, is a tragedy in the making. In the meantime, education has moved fast into the area of privatization, which is another word for profit-making and even greed. Unfortunately, education is not for profit, as far as I know, but for the improvement of our people. There lies the real profit, the one that we do not take to the bank. Are we buying an education with money? I was wondering. We have hundreds of colleges, especially the private ones, which are not interested so much in really educating and producing balanced students in their knowledge and also their experience and outlook on life. Only subjects then can offer economic returns are taught. I suddenly feel that I'm weeping over the death of the humanities, the subjects that help us to be human and live a larger and even fuller life. I hope that this is not so yet, as there is yet time and there are people who are not besotted by the idea that we only need the sciences to go into the future. As literature classes in the schools are being closed all over the country, and thus subsequently in the university, history and literature have comparatively less students. That is by design. And at present, teachers of literature are becoming quite a rare breed. The single philosophy department in the country has been reduced to a service unit. What does this say about our education policy or our people as a whole? In the past, education is for the happiness of the people, the creation of the good human beings, kind and sustainable communities and societies. Are these not more important than producing 100 barrels of crude oil every morning or making 170% profit for the first year of business? Is the business of our business only making money and nothing else? And do we continue to praise our members of our society according to the makes of their cars that they own and where they go for their holidays? Do we forget to remember the principle of the philosophers of the past, that we need good human beings to build a good society. Here lies the relevance of literature, language, philosophy, and history, and the relevance of progress that is not selfish, not violent. Are we seeing before our eyes now the products of our humanities, less education and policies? Now I have thrown many questions at our ministers, principals, vice chancellors, professors, and teachers. Let us take this long path through the thick jungle of the present confusion. I think I'll stop here. Thank you very much. Kita ada soalan.
نعبر عن جزيل الشكر ووافر التقدير للأستاذ الأميريتوس بروف شرف محمد الحاج صالح على كلماته المثيرة. والآن نتشرف بدعوة الأستاذ المشارك دكتور عبد القدوس رئيس المؤتمر لتقديم الهدية التذكارية لضيفنا المحترم بروف محمد الحاج صالح. Thank you very much, Prof, for the outstanding speech. Now, I would like to invite Associate Professor Dr. Abdul Qudus, Convener of the conference, to present souvenir to our honorable guest, Prof. Muhammad Haji Salleh. فليتفضل مشكورا. Please welcome. There's no question and answer session.
Do you have anyone have, we are running out of time, but if anyone have any question, the Prof is willing to answer. Prof, here. Prof, floor is here.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you, Professor, for this wonderful speech that we enjoyed, your speech, basically. This is Usmani from ICRCG. Prof, I just wanted to share with you that language, of course, is very important for all of us. The humanity started with the language, and language is one of the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we find in the Quran as well. I belong to Quran. So in the Quran, Allah says, for example, min ayatihi ikhtilafu alsinatikum wa alwanikum. Perhaps Prof knows better about it because you are Ustaz as well, isn't it? Okay, Allah says there that among the sign of Allah is the change of the language, different languages and different colors. In Surah Al-Hujurat, Allah says that Allah has made us into different tribes, nations, so that we can merge, we come together. So by this way, we have divided here and there. A question goes on in my mind. What was Adam alayhi salatu wasalam? What language basically he has spoken? Adam, our father, the first man on the earth. How these languages differ? Allah said these languages, there are thousands of languages. In India, for example, there are 20 of languages. In